Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning how to simplify fractions. So if you remember from before, when we're writing fractions, you can practically write any combination of numbers, and you'll either get a proper or an improper fraction. So if you look at this fraction, for example, let's say 1/2, right? So 1/2, if you visually represent it, it's going to look like this, of a circle. The thing is, what if you had 2/4? It looks like a different fraction, but it's the same thing, because if you think about it, this is saying we have 2 quarter pieces, so that would look like this. But even though you split it in 2, when you add it back together, it's still the same thing as this. These two are the same thing. So what you just realized is that we just cut the fraction into more pieces, but it's still the same amount. What we can do is, if we're given the fraction 2/4, we can simplify it. We call it simplifying, and it's basically the same thing. Simplifying to when you simplify correctly all the way to the end, it means you can't simplify it anymore. So you can't rewrite 1/2 anymore to have lower numbers in the numerator and the denominator. So for example, 2/4 and you simplify it to 1/2, the way you simplify is you divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. And that gets you what looks like a new fraction, but is actually representing the same thing, just in a more simplified way. That's why simplifying is so important, because sometimes it'll let you make a problem a lot less trouble than it actually looks like. And the way you do it is by seeing if you can divide both the top and the bottom of a fraction by the same number. So let's see if we can simplify these problems that I will write. So the first one we're going to try to simplify is 4/6. So the way we do it is we try to see if we can divide both the top and the bottom by the same number. In this case, it looks like we could divide the numerator and the denominator both by 2. So just like we did from before. So we're going to divide by 2, and here divide by 2. And then the new number that we get is 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3, is 2/3. So these two are the same, these two represent the same concept. It's just the difference between, here's 1/3 and here's 2/3. It's just the difference between this and then this. These are all the same thing. They represent the same amounts, but you're just cutting it up into more pieces when you do it 4/6. Okay, so if we did that one, let's try a different problem. Let's try the problem 4/8. So we could try dividing by 2, but it looks like we can divide by an even larger number. We can divide by 4. And the good thing about simplifying is that, so let's divide by 4 first. When you divide the top by 4, you get 1. And when you divide the bottom by 4, you get 2. So it turns out 4/8 is just another way to write 1/2. And as you get to simplify more and more complex problems, sometimes you won't be able to guess what's the best number to divide by in your first try. So let's say if I didn't notice that I could divide by 4, and I tried, okay, well, I noticed that both of them are divisible by 2, so let's say I divided by 2 first, right? I would quickly realize that, okay, 2/4, that's the answer that I get. Oh wait, I can do it again. So I can just divide again, both by 2, and I'll get I'll get to the same place as I did before, just in more steps. And if you notice, if you multiply the numbers that you divided by, so like if I multiply 2 by 2, I get 4. So it turns out to be the same thing. You're just dividing it up into smaller chunks. But you get to the same place if you continue until you can't do it anymore. Let's try this one more time with one more problem. Let's try 6 over 10. So I think the best that we can do here is to divide by 2 again. And when we divide by 2, the top becomes 3 and the bottom becomes 5, and we get 3/5 is the same thing as 6/10. That is how to simplify fractions. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.